like I said, if the others can join whenever they can, that'd be great. So I will call the meeting to order at 7:02. And Dave's got the flag, so if you'll join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the United States of America
and to the republic
for which
for which
it
it stands one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, first on the agenda is public input. So if anybody has any public input, please join in and let us know. Okay. And correspondence, everything that we have is part of our meeting reports or our project reports. So, and Kathy, you haven't received anything between last time I saw you and now. So we're good with that. So then we have approval of meeting minutes from our last regular meeting of February, was it February 9? Yeah.
Motion to approve.
What's that?
Motion to approve.
Okay, so Dave makes a motion to approve meeting minutes
I'll second it.
and Gil seconds. I have a correction, which is why I didn't make the motion so I could do the correction. So on page 2, Kathy, it's just a kind of record keeping thing. Approval of PCO number 110 for the insulation work. And you have Roy making the motion and seconding it. So you might have to either check your notes or the recording and see, because you can't do that. I don't think you can. My sister asked me recently, can I second my own motion? And I'm like, no. Somebody else has to do that. She's like texting me in the middle of some meeting. Can I second my own motion? I was like, no, can't do that. So just if we can say with that correction made or as amended. Okay, and does anybody else have anything? I have something that was in the minutes that we'll discuss, but it doesn't need to be anything changed.
Something's burning.
Anybody else have anything else in the minutes that needs
It's the
to be
heater.
updated? I know Ken and Jim had something last time, so. All right, so we're good with that as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Done? Good, thank you. So then we'll jump into our old business, our school projects. So how is Ken and Jim, do you have a report for us? Or how are we gonna do this?
So I could put so I don't know, Ken and Jim probably don't know, or maybe they do. I might have emailed people. I circulated the minutes of our last Thursday meeting as an update report to the building committee. So I could put up the first page because I think the only thing really to update are the hot topics. And there's like a half a dozen areas in the schools which are either finished, which are either recently finished or, you know, close to being finished. And maybe those are the items that Ken, you could report on. And then if there are questions about anything else, we could entertain those.
Okay. The first item that's open here was the
Oops.
Terrazzo Repair.
Yeah,
And that's going to be, I believe, open for possible vote tonight. That's the change order for the repairing of the Terrazzo.
yeah,
Okay.
probably. Well, actually, well,
Maybe.
we'll talk about it later. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll bring it up later. So for the Rockwell gym, the base was scheduled for this week, and they're going in there tomorrow. Tomorrow's a half day, so as soon as school gets out, they'll be in there. The stage curtain, I'm still having trouble with the contractor that was delayed due to COVID. He's working on getting a date to me, but he has not done that yet. And I've been calling and emailing, and so hoping to get something from him tomorrow. The drinking fountains, we're going to be putting those in on Saturday. So for the roofing, the roofer was back today, and he should be finishing up his edge detailing this week. And not sure about the walk pads. He's probably going to have to wait for a little bit more warming. It might get there by the end of the week, but
So Ken, is there still snow on the roof to have to get rid of to be able to do the walk?
there is, and it has to be fairly dry for it. So
Right.
hopefully it all melts and the puddles go away. So then for the restroom slab, we're finished with that, and then there's as far as we could go. The
And is there still that wait time that we have to wait until to be able to use?
Joe, I'm not sure if there's a letter coming from the engineer.
Yeah, I just sent him that information that you confirmed today. So we'll see what he's going to provide us.
But until then, we're gonna keep off of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ken, what date was that poured on again? I'm sorry.
Oh, January 31st? Was this? No, 30th. It was a Saturday.
Okay.
So you should be getting pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But even though we're getting close to the date or whatever, do we still have to get some sort of sign off before we can actually then go ahead and say, let's all over it,
Chris Baldwin did want
the letter?
a letter from the engineer. The only question was whether, I think DTC can issue a letter. They just had a question about the strength of the concrete. And at this point, it's going to be 28 days by Monday. So we should be able to get that letter this week in any case.
Good.
We can get, even though it's going to be the 28 days, we still need to get the letter.
Chris still wants a letter because it's not just the concrete, it's the rebar
Right.
and the deck.
And the corrugated metal there and all that. Okay.
All right. So the moving to Johnson.
Well, wait,
Yeah.
I have a question
Sure.
with the Rockwell bus loop vestibule is listed as closed, but isn't there a couple things that little things you need to do, or are they just, is it like the glass has been put in place and
The glass was finished, and the only thing now is there's a sprinkler head that we have to put in. So
right, that's right.
that he's coming in a couple days to do that.
And that's pretty much all, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So for Johnson, the vestibule, they finished up the electrical rough end. The painting was done today, and the ceilings are going to be Thursday and Friday, and then we have the prep for the doors by Massey's. They're going to be there Thursday, and at that point we're going to be doing the panels the panels that are partially inside the secure vestibule and outside of the vestibule. And then we've got a floor issue that we just need to get resolved. I'm not sure where we're at with that. I don't know if there's any new ideas on that flooring by the vestibule, Joe?
We're still recommending that terrazzo be poured where the existing vestibule was.
So I had a conversation with Dr. Carver about that today, and I guess I wasn't clear, or so Christine was saying that there is terrazzo in the area that would be in the lobby, but butting up towards the secured vestibule. And is that true or not true? Because I don't have a picture of that. So the question was, why aren't we just staying with that terrazzo and then we're supposed to have new porcelain tile in the
new vestibule.
new vestibule anyway. So, but I went back and looked at your drawing, Joe. Are we sure that the break in that flooring is where you showed it on the drawing?
Yeah, it's where the existing vestibule was, that it was only concrete slab that was existing. There was no terrazzo ever poured there, apparently.
And
That's correct.
Yeah,
all right. So Bob, what we were talking about earlier, there is a patch of concrete that needs flooring. And at this point, it falls outside of the secure vestibule, right?
Right.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. And based on depth and dimensions, Joe, you determined that trying to put tile in that area would create too big of a transition
Right, because
Where it
it'd be in the
hits the
middle of the
terrazzo.
lobby.
in the middle of the lobby. So taking into consideration some of the comments from the building committee when we've discussed this before, Perkins Eastman has gone back to the recommendation that that concrete area be filled in with a matching terrazzo. Which we don't have a price on yet. So I guess so that is the direction at this point, is to get a price for that section of the floor to be new terrazzo.
Can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
When Christine and I walked in there, it looks like, and she was not opposed to it. It looks like if you make a nice clean shave cut to where the terrazzo floor stops and the concrete begins, it'll look good if it's filled in with concrete. It's not like, I got to differ with you. It's not in the middle of that foyer. It's more towards the edge.
It's about 8 feet from the interior doors of the new vestibule.
But Geraldine, did you receive those photographs yet from the school?
No.
Because Christine said she was going to have someone take photograph.
Yeah,
I
I
could-
have one photograph that's not really clear what that floor material is and relatively where the break is. So
If you want, tomorrow morning, I can take some very detailed photos and send them out.
I guess, yes. So at the end of the day, though, I think it's going to be, I think we need a recommendation from Joe as to whether, yeah, I mean, somebody's going to have to make this decision. So we know that the price of the terrazzo is going to be a lot. So should we be looking at an alternative material, which we thought we were doing with the porcelain tile to match the inside of the vestibule? But now we're talking about porcelain tile inside the vestibule, existing concrete to be sealed as you exit that vestibule, and then the old terrazzo. So
Yeah,
I guess,
I don't think you could seal that existing concrete because of the pit. There's a pitch on that. So it slopes from about 3/4 of an inch depth at the terrazzo in the lobby, and it pitches down. I forget what Ken sent me dimensions. I think it was at least 2 inches. Ken, do you remember what those dimensions were?
Yeah, it was like 1.25 inches, something like 1.25 inches.
So Joe, what are you saying as far as the pitching of the floor? Is that going to be okay though are you planning on taking up that difference with the terrazzo, or what was the thought there?
Yeah, we would bring the terrazzo straight across level,
Okay,
and then whatever tapering might have to occur would have to occur at the transition at the interior lobby doors. And then you may have to pitch the porcelain tile to match the sidewalk grade to get that to be accessible as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so we don't end up with another transition strip or anything like that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm having a hard time picturing all the different areas. I somewhat understand what you're talking about. And, you know.
Yeah, right, because I think the last time we were out there, there was still a lot of work
Yeah,
going on. And there was like, I'm having trouble picturing it too, as to where, I know it's two separate areas in a way, where the porcelain tile and the other finished, the existing, because there's some that was outside that's now inside, and right, because of the change, the way
So this is the
Okay.
sketch
drawing.
from
Yeah.
Joe of approximately where that break would be, see existing and new.
Right. And
but just
that kind of has to do with, well, because of the new, it has to do with where that sort of secure vestibule and then the interior vestibule, the way that was sort of realigned.
Right, because it was brought out
Yeah, the new.
Right. It was
to
extended.
expand the lobby,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. So, Joe, what you're saying in what we see in the drawing here, where it says new in kind of orangey,
Yep.
that should be terrazzo, which is going to have to be, is it just getting put down on concrete, or is the concrete going to have to be leveled first and then you're putting the terrazzo in?
I'm not sure how they would pour the terrazzo, if they would do like a leveler first and then pour the terrazzo,
Uh-huh.
or if they just pour the terrazzo the full depth of what that existing slab dimension is,
Mhm.
which ranges from 3/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches as you go towards the new vestibule.
huh.
Hmm.
And the door heights and everything will come out okay, though?
I believe so, yes.
The sills
You
and
can't
what
cut
have
them.
you?
Right,
Can't
Yeah,
cut 'em.
that's what.
Yeah.
Don't want to run up against a problem there too.
right, right.
So Bob Germanaro, are you seeing that little drawing there? Is that kind of what you were asking?
Well, yeah, I mean, see that nice cut line he's got there? I mean, that's what we're talking about. If it could be just cut off where the floor ends and just make it all tile. Why do we even need that? That's what
So
she
you're
was saying.
So bring that porcelain tile that's in that's going to be installed in the secure vestibule into the big lobby vestibule area and have it butt up to the existing terrazzo.
Well, I just think that according to his photograph there, he's got a little bit too much terrazzo floor there. It's, let me take those photographs tomorrow. Then there's no shades of gray about what we're talking about.
Hey, Bob, also
Yeah.
look at that. Another question that I would have is whether the new terrazzo is going to match the old anyway. So, it might go to your idea that maybe it's not worth it, but I'm just throwing out different ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, at
Yeah,
Johnson,
she
the
also-
match was really well done, I'd have to say.
What's that,
Yeah, but
Joe?
the Johnson and the Rockwell are two different colors.
Yeah, no, the Johnson match is almost spot on.
Is that right? Good.
Yeah, I thought the Rockwell match was a little off from the existing, but the Johnson match, I actually had Joe Costa try to figure out where the patches were, and he was having
Good.
trouble finding it.
Okay,
so.
okay, that's good to hear.
But I would
I don't
say
know,
if we're going to extend a porcelain tile into the existing lobby, we might have to grind down that existing slab to eliminate any transition there,
Yeah, yep. Yeah, there might be an issue there.
because there's only 3/4 of an inch, and it'll be close at 3/4 inches at the high point. I think it goes down to 1/2 inch, moving away from the admin suite. I'm trying to find that email from Ken to refresh my memory.
So can I ask a question, which probably people who work on large construction sites know this better than me. when we're looking at, and I know we're gonna have to look at this later, when we're looking at having to do the terrazzo infills in different places, both at Rockwell and Johnson, is that done poured or is it done in tiles?
It would be poured.
It would be
Or-
poured also?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Those are quite some numbers.
Well,
That's another discussion.
that's, which we will have a little,
Yeah, and the reason it's another discussion is because, again, in speaking with Bob and Christine today, they are not opposed to, in some of the, especially the smaller areas where we're infilling where a door opening changed. They're not, Bob and Christine are not opposed to just a colored concrete that can be sealed instead of real, real terrazzo.
Yeah,
So I think we want to take another look at it, where can we utilize just a concrete infill to save money, and where do we really need the cosmetic, effect of terrazzo, if anywhere, even in the
Well-
rear lobby here at Johnson. Maybe it's a matter of
Yeah.
taking up some of the terrazzo that's there and putting tile in there. Trying to find a way to do this more cost efficiently than spending $35,000 to infill all these little spots of terrazzo.
I agree with you. I personally don't want to see us skimping on the entryway though. So I'd really like to see this looking really, really good. So, I think that's the statement coming in there. So however that works out, my preference is that this really does look good.
well, and I think we have to look at not just looking good, but durability. So,
Durability,
Yes.
exactly. With that
Right.
in mind, absolutely.
right. So if we're looking at the little infill patches around doorways, if we can do some sort of like infill of poured concrete that's sealed and colored, posed to look
Colored,
a certain, stained to look a certain way, that's not going to get walked on a whole lot. This vestibule is going to get walked on a lot. And so what
Right.
would be the most durable, even though, concrete, even though it's stained and sealed and et cetera, is that going to be as durable as terrazzo? So I think that's part of a couple of different things that people have said. We have to look at all those things. But we
Right.
discussed the change order part of it later. But this part, because Ken was doing this as part of his update and construction
Right.
topics. Are we wanting Joe Joe has specified this section here in the drawing that Geraldine has up to be terrazzo. But we don't have a price on that yet, correct?
That's correct. We didn't really proceed with this. So I
Bob,
think the
does-
next step is to. No,
Any
yeah.
ballparks, 25, 30,000? Is that,
That's ballpark, yes.
okay.
think it's
I'm
gonna
just
be
throwing
more.
that out. I know it's gonna be very pricey,
Yeah,
but my preference would be if Joe feels that's gonna be the best product in there and the best use, then I think we ought to price it and see if we can, see where it goes.
and when,
And so do you want us to explore other areas where we might be able to use an alternate material like a concrete?
I agree,
Yeah, something to look at.
and spend the money on the vestibule,
absolutely.
okay? Bob, you don't have any of that somewhere in your attic stock? Got a big lump of it somewhere that you could kind
You
of
start
grind
thinking,
up?
Bob, you
and-
probably do.
Hey, Ken, if throwing this out there, it's probably not feasible, but what if we did the secure vestibule in terrazzo as well? Does it drive the cost down because it's a larger area?
Yeah,
It would be a little, but I don't think you'd see
but at least that way you're only
Yes.
dealing with one contractor too.
right. He's got the tile already for it, so you wouldn't get the material.
Oh, okay.
He's
He's got
ready
the-
to go.
He's got
waiting
the
for us to
porcelain
tell him.
tile? He's got the porcelain tile?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, all right,
Never mind then.
never mind.
Just a thought.
Could we put some of that wood flooring in there?
There you go. Now you're talking.
That wouldn't be very durable for a
No.
high traffic wet area.
Nope.
Good
Nope,
idea.
nope, nope.
Shows
I
you
like it
thinking.
from a cost perspective.
Yeah. So we're looking at, we obviously have to get a cost to do the terrazzo there. And then I guess we'll have to discuss a little further when we get to the change orders. Do we make some changes in the infill parts?
Right.
Can we do that and then move on to some of the other topics that Ken's going to update us on, or do we have to talk about the vestibule some more?
No, I think we'll price it and then we'll present it.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
All right, Ken.
Okay, the Johnson Gym, the same with the stage curtain subcontractor is the same as Rockwell. So I'm hoping to hear from him the next day or so I can get him scheduled to get in there. So the other items that we have would be, there's some base at the first step that's going up to the stage, and they're coming soon as tomorrow morning about 11:30. I think they got permission to go in there, so they'll be in there doing that tomorrow morning. And then the railing contractor has started at Rockwell, so hopefully we can see Johnson get started soon after he completes Rockwell. He just came to the site today with railings over at Rockwell. And then the last item on the list here was the sanitary plumbing pipe replacement, and the tile is scheduled for tomorrow. I believe he's going to be after school or second shift, and it should be done tomorrow.
Very good.
I think that's everything. I'm all set, Nancy.
Okay. Oh, well, I guess the receiving area flooring, that loading dock flooring in the kitchen, we're going to discuss that with change orders.
Yeah, with PCOs, yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else that anybody has either questions on or looked through the OAC notes? Was there anything that came up that you want to have any questions on, et cetera? Because I have a couple. Which I don't want to kind of belabor and mini manage, multi kind of do everything, but there's some things that came up in the meeting that are that were brought up by Chris Baldwin that are code things. And so are those being worked on, Ken and Jim?
Yes,
Okay.
the sprinkler piping and things
Right.
that he has to be moved.
Yep.
We've been in contact with the fire rated, and they're procuring materials to get out here to do it. I believe it is going to be within the next couple of days. He'll be on site.
So is that they don't have to move the sprinkler pipes? They are looking at putting some fire rated material in between the sprinkler pipes and the conduit.
Ooh, which one was that?
So he pointed, one of the things he pointed out was in one of the utility rooms. I'm gonna have to find it here. Daryl, I'm gonna have to scroll a little, but I've got it here too.
Yeah, I didn't note the rooms, but he did note that there were some sprinkler pipes run above electrical conduit in, at
Some
panels.
utility rooms, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I didn't know where.
So 207 and 122.
Okay.
I can find out if they're not moving the pipe, if there was another alternative method for that.
So you're working on that.
Yes.
Okay, some of the other things that I had kind of circled about, we'll probably talk about most everything during change order discussion, so we won't get into it now. I don't think.
They did the labeling of the electrical panel directories today, so that was done.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's mostly, I mean, it was helpful for Geraldine to send this out because it also gives us, or gave me some information on change orders that we'll discuss a little bit later on, and how we need to look at these and et cetera. And then there's also stuff with commissioning that Rick Bilecki brought up. I know it's ongoing, so I don't think we need to get into a discussion of that right now, but I know there were some things that he brought up, but there were things he still needs to check into. And simple things like filters needing to be changed, so.
But I will report though that he did say, Rick did report that he's pretty much finished with commissioning the controls at Johnson, and they're and everything looks pretty good. He had some small items that need to be corrected, but I have not heard from him. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. He's not starting over at Rockwell till tomorrow, I think. So we should find out what's happening at Rockwell, at least at a start on Thursday.
Okay,
But commissioning is progressing well and pretty much completed at Johnson. So for the heating system.
okay, good. And I know he said that the cooling and things like that, he's obviously can't do until it's time to do that. So does anybody have any other construction questions for Ken or Jim right now before we get into, obviously, like I said, there's more stuff that'll come up as we deal with change orders. Good. Ready to move on? FF&E technology, playgrounds, etc.
Yes, so furniture is done, so there's nothing really to report there. On technology, we are trying to light a fire under ESC to finish the audiovisual work. They were on site at Johnson yesterday and today, and I think they made great progress in the gym and the cafeteria there. They have some questions about some, wiring that we have to circle back with Ferguson or, with Rizzo on. And they have not yet, unfortunately, started any of the work in the gym at Rockwell. So we're trying to get them to move along more quickly and finish the audiovisual work. I think we're in good shape on security, but the security installations are also still ongoing. And on playgrounds, Altiplay was supposed to be there today, Bob.
They were.
Good.
They
Okay.
they're working on the 2 benches at Rockwell. I'm sorry, at Johnson. And then they were heading over to Rockwell for a repair.
Okay, that's right, benches at Johnson. So, okay, that's good news. They were gonna go yesterday with the weather, then they said today, so perfect. So we should be all set with the repairs to the playground then.
With the yes, you said it was ESC. Is that
Yeah.
just getting controls kind of organized? And I mean, the hardware's in place, they're just trying to get everything coordinated, or is there still hardware that needs to be put in
At
place?
Rockwell, there is still hardware that needs to be put in. I think at Johnson, they're complete in the gym with speakers. They finished the racks. They need a couple of small parts for the microphones that go to the sound system. They were trying to figure out if there actually was power wired to the projection screen, because they needed to test that in order to test the projection equipment. So it's those kind of little things we need to follow up on. That just came up today. Let me see what else is in my notes from them. Yeah, pathways that appear to be missing. So they're working with D'Agostino on trying to identify, what's supposed to be there and what they need to finish out their work. But yeah, in general, they're fine. They do still have a couple of visual display monitors to mount. And again, they have to adjust the mounting bracket to push it out from the wall a little bit to account for some conduit that was in unexpected places. So they're working through those corrections as well. And we've asked them for a cost to move a speaker in the Johnson Media Center, which they provided me with late today. It's like, I don't know, $300 or something. So we'll review that and then probably bring it to you for the next meeting. It was something that the school had asked us to look into.
So as far as like places where you said they're not sure if there's power there, is it just that things aren't connected properly, or is there actually possibly some wires?
Hope so. Well, that's what we hope. So
Okay.
this was sort of a late breaking email that I got from them. So they are
Got
trying
it.
to figure out, why there isn't power at the projection screen. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if it's wiring or just a connection or a control.
Right.
So
Okay,
we're working on that this week.
okay. And then is that, you're good with the FF&E technology playgrounds right now, or?
Yep,
Okay.
that's it.
So I'm going to jump backwards a bit because I have a couple more questions that I found for Ken and or Jim. So driving into town, I went by the field office and I saw one of your trucks out. So you were moving more stuff out. So there's still stuff, still people working on getting stuff out of the field office, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the Eversource people are supposed to be there tomorrow too because of early dismissal, and they've got to do their walk around stuff. That's still happening?
They haven't canceled, as far as I know.
So as far as we
Okay,
know, yeah.
because they can do that sometimes. And let me see, there's one other thing, that field office. Nope, I think that might be. Okay, that might be it. If I think of anything else, I'll let you know, but that's just it. And is Eversource doing a check? Is that part of the incentive program, or is it more like they just have to check some stuff to make sure everything was installed?
So it's part of the energy incentive program. And I haven't looked at the documents lately, but as I recall, there's something like $180,000 worth of rebate that could be coming back to the town or the school district, or sometimes they do it in a check lump sum. Sometimes they apply it to future bills. I don't know what the arrangements were for that, but yes, they have to come and take a look at the installation of the equipment that we promised them was going to be energy efficient.
Right.
So.
And so then they have to make sure that the equipment that we said was going to be installed is installed before they give you your letter that says.
Right.
And like I said, I can't remember what the agreement was, whether it was applied to future bills or whether they're going to give us a lump sum check. So we'll find out. Okay. So it's budget time.
All right, budgets. Let's see. So Johnson tracking budget. So this is this takes into account all of the invoices and the reserve requisition that was approved at the last meeting. At Johnson, we are billed out on the total project at about 88%, and on construction a total of 93%. And I will say on the 88%, so we're 93% with construction billing. We're probably almost 100% with furniture and technology billing. So I think most of the hard costs of the project are already built in to where we are at with the budget. So I think that we're in pretty good shape at 88% overall. What's still to come are probably some professional services and reconciling some areas of the budget that we either did or didn't, fully use up. So we're in pretty good shape on Johnson. we still are tracking to about $1.7 million worth of contingency remaining. And on Rockwell, we are a little bit ahead of all that. We are billed out on Rockwell about 93% of the total project cost. And I will say that number primarily happens because there is no contingency left. So we're running pretty skinny here. 95% of construction has been billed out. And the contingency for Rockwell alone is about $440,000 in the red. But when we look at the combined projects, we are still tracking about $700,000 under budget by the end of the project. So in the case of this accounting, again, we see the change orders that have been submitted for each school here up in this section. Change orders we're going to look at tonight, pending change orders that have been submitted that we have not yet brought to the building committee, and then these sort of special areas of terrazzo and primary feeders that we're carrying up here. Then we do still have a number of pending change orders, and I left the washer and dryers down here because we need to continue to discuss the appropriate scope for those additions. We're still carrying the remaining additional services request for Perkins Eastman. I added in the cost of abating the Rockwell boiler room floor, since that is intended to eventually hit this project budget.
Yep. And is that a good price that we have there? Is that, I don't remember where that came from. Was that a gift from Weston and Sampson, or?
Yes, they gave us a high low and I'm carrying the high.
Okay.
I think their low is 55,000. They thought it was going to be someplace between 55 and 68,000 to abate that floor.
Okay.
So I've added that. Oh, and I just wanted to point out up here under expected PCOs, I added a line for personnel scissor lift, Bob. So I'm carrying $10,000 there for your scissor lift, just to keep it in the mix. And then we do have a small amount of budget line items down here, primarily in the utility cost line item, which we have not expended and I do not expect to expend. So we're going to recapture those items in our calculations. And that results in, between the two schools, an additional projected project cost over and above what we've already approved of about $563,000. And then when you do the math on all the remaining contingencies, we're still looking at about $700,000 under budget, should all of this come to fruition. And then just for information's sake, we carry the current balance on the contract, on the construction manager's contingency. Those numbers are not factored into the totals above.
Well, those numbers, the construction manager contingency, are part of their GMP, correct?
They are, that's correct. So
Right.
They're down here, but they're also already up in the construction cost to date number.
Yes, right.
Until
So they're taken care of up there.
right. It's informational.
Right.
In the event that, for instance, at Johnson, they do not run through all of that contingency in the next couple of months. But I know that things are still kind of volatile on the construction billing, so we don't want to count on any of that money.
Right. Well, I think it needs to, not be counted on. It needs to stay where it is. I mean, it is already in the GMP, so we need to assume it's going to stay there and may need to be used. Okay. Anybody have any questions on budget stuff? I asked mine already, so I think we're good.
On PCOs, then do you want to move on to PCOs or?
Well, let's just, first of all, I'm just going to jump around a little bit because the PCOs are going to take a little bit. So with the boiler room at Rockwell, I think we're in good shape with all the documentation that we need. And we just have to make sure, and I'll have to check in with Weston and Sampson or have John Menti do that to make sure that the letter that was signed by the town, which basically says we agree to all things that are in the RAP and that something's going to be done, et cetera, and that there's a place to store the files, which I had discussions with Bob about, and it's, obviously his office is the best place to store the files, whether they're electronic or paper or both. We just want to make sure that that's all, and I'll check in with John Menti and Weston and Sampson and make sure. I don't think there's anything more right now that we need to do. I think it's like the paperwork's in place, the report's in place. Weston and Sampson is filing what they need to file with whoever they file it with, whatever EPA type people they file with. And then nothing else really needs to be done until summertime, when we actually do whatever remediation is going to be done. That's my understanding. Yes? No, anybody?
Mine as well, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. So I don't think we need to go through any much more of that. I'll be working on taking care of making sure, as I said, the paperwork is stored where it's needed. And then professional services, additional services requests. We're still picking through a lot of that, trying to figure out what's the best way to approach, what's equitable, et cetera. So it's not, don't see, since we're not taking any kind of action or whatever in meetings, doesn't mean we're not continuing to work on it actively and hopefully proactively too, as a subcommittee. If anybody has any input on any of that or questions about it, they can ask here or let us know, Roy, me, John, and Dave. Good. So then I think we have more change orders than invoices this week, so we should probably just jump right into those. And
Yeah, well, I was saying not necessarily, because I did pull a couple of them out of consideration. So we'll talk about that and why. We'll start at Johnson. Let's see, we're going to consider some, but I just want to refer to the ones that we're not going to consider. So we talked about Terrazzo. Since we're going to be looking at, as the construction team will look more closely at the individual locations of the Terrazzo that needs to be dealt with. I can try to pull up. Oh, actually, it's in with PCO now that I think
right, with
about
the
it.
change order has the drawings
Right,
that
So
shows
some
the
of those-
locations.
exactly, but I think I already might have taken it out of the shared drive. But we'll look at, you can tell where some of them where some of the yellow marks on that drawing are at doorways. So those are smaller little infill pieces. Where you see kind of a bigger patch, we'll have to pay more attention to, we'll have to make a decision on whether, at what size do we not consider doing a concrete fill and try to do the terrazzo, but we'll work on that this week in order to give better direction to Rizzo to tighten up the terrazzo estimate. And that's why it's not really in the consideration pile right now. I actually think that's it at Johnson. That's probably the only one that I pulled back. So we can go through, there are 5 to consider, 5 change orders to consider here at Johnson. One of them is an either or. So we provided 2 change orders for the flooring at the receiving area. One to do the epoxy in kind of a partial, in the partial area from the kitchen door back to receiving, and then another PCO to do the entire corridor in VCT. But let me start at the beginning with PCO in order of PCO number. PCO 94 is for a chase in the quiet room classroom. This is something that's been out there for a while. We keep going back and forth with with Verdi trying to reduce it. They finally got it down to $1,956.24. And basically, we were trying to get them to make the price of this chase more comparable to other chases that they had previously built. So this is on its third revision, and kudos to Matt Howe from Rizzo for pursuing this for so long. But this is a roof drain pipe that came down within a quiet room off of the special ed area. And it definitely needed a chase enclosure because it was not up against a wall.
Okay, so there were several others that had to be done, so
Yeah.
something that's already been done, so I will
Make
It
a
has.
make a
motion.
motion. Okay, go ahead, Roy.
Yeah, make a motion to approve it. Is this the one for 1956-24?
Yes.
Okay, that's the motion I'm making it for.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds. I don't know if we have any other discussion since Geraldine explained, but does anybody have any questions about it?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Are we done? If you're opposed, you gotta jump up and down and unmute yourself and let me know. So the next one,
So the next one is PCO 109 at Johnson. Now, when this is for engineering services provided by the steel fabricator for the new design of the entrance vestibule. So when we moved from QSR to Marcelli Steel, and in that process, there were some significant changes made to the steel. The steel kind of arrangement and the steel design itself. They needed to go back to an engineer to get certain portions of the design stamped and, professional engineer review. So this is the cost of their engineering services, $3,391.50.
Make a motion to accept that.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds, so Roy makes the motion, Dave Olson seconds. Any other questions about this? Are we kind of done with that? We don't have any more of that is going to need to.
Yes, as far as we know, the steel is up, the steel has been inspected, they're infilling with the panels and the doors and walls. So yes, we are done with the new steel fabrication at the vestibule at Johnson.
Okay. Any other questions about it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Done.
But we are not quite done with PCOs related to the lobby. So 112 is also related to the structure. This is PCO 112 in the amount of $2601.90. This is for new and additional anchor bolts needed to be provided in order to erect the steel for the canopy. And this is because correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, if I mischaracterize this, the slab and the sidewalk were poured prior to the changes being finalized for all of the steel vestibule. So the anchor bolts were not in the correct location. So new anchor bolts had to be added at the time that we finalized this steel design for the vestibule.
Correct. That's correct.
Make
So
a
this is
motion to approve that
2006.
2601.90.
Second.
So we got a second motion from Roy, second from Dave Olson. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Done.
And also at Johnson, PCO 120, so this is Yes, you can characterize it as an omission in the documents. There were no thresholds shown in the interior doors at the gymnasium at Johnson. Obviously, thresholds had to be added everywhere. And this was actually, this is part of something that I think building committee members saw during some of their walkthroughs, wondering why the flooring was incomplete or unfinished at some of the edges, and this is why. So thresholds finally came in, they were installed,
They
2,750.
haven't been yet.
Oh, they haven't?
No,
Oh.
we found a little problem with this because the 6-inch may not work. We're looking at it right now just to try to find something that we can make work. It's just the frames were a 9-inch width, so the 6-inch was just not covering the way it should cover. So we're looking at different options right now.
Ken, did you get the additional information I sent you? I think that was yesterday.
that one was just like I guess because some of those were custom. They were like not even worth bringing up right now. So we're looking at different options. Those were really expensive.
Of course.
But we'll talk more about it probably tomorrow.
So we should not be approving this change order because it changed?
I think you probably should table it, Gerald. I was trying to see if we could work with what we had, and it just didn't work out today. So I think we should probably table this one.
Yep. Okay. Did we acquire thresholds that we can return?
There is, but there's a restocking fee, but we'll do everything we can to keep all the costs down and return them.
Hey, Ken, who came up with the 6-inch threshold as opposed to matching the 9-inch width?
That was I think it was an email. We had asked the RFI. It was the RFI response because there wasn't a threshold in the hardware schedule for it.
No, I understand that. I completely understand that, but nobody bothered to look at the width of the frame and match it up.
Part of it's due to where the tile ends up, and it's almost like 6-inch could have worked.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's off like 1.5 inches, and you can't increase the tile because it'll go side of the underside of the door, and so it was close. It's just not able to be worked.
Okay.
But so there wasn't any field measurements done before?
I don't know that there were. No, I don't believe there were.
Would have been a good idea.
Yeah, then I don't think we should pay any restocking fees or anything along those lines. That's my opinion.
Let's see if we can get it as far as you can, and
Yep.
we can probably discuss the total cost.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. So are there any others for Johnson that you have tonight, Geraldine, or?
There are. So there are the two costs to do the flooring at the receiving area. So one option is to do epoxy to match the kitchen floor. And let's see. And the epoxy would run from the receiving door, the loading dock door, and go to about 3 feet past the door into the kitchen. So the shading in yellow would be the amount of epoxy flooring.
So
And the remaining floor out here would stay sealed concrete as part of the base building specification.
Do you know what the square footage is, Geraldine, offhand? The sealed?
Let's see, I do not. I do not have that.
Okay.
can we go back to the drawing?
We can certainly calculate that.
Thank you.
So the yellowy area is what you're saying is going to be epoxy?
Correct.
And then
Now,
get into that
in the
area that's,
alternative, Yeah, and the gray stays sealed concrete.
Got
as
it.
As it was supposed. The alternative PCF for VCT, I'm not sure that is there a drawing with it? Probably it's not. In the alternative, we could do VCT in that same, yeah, there isn't a drawing. So if we did VCT, let me go back. If we did VCT, it would be the area that is in yellow, but it would also go all the way up to this double door into the main corridor. And it would extend over the right here in the area where we're planning the washer dryer.
And what's the downfall of the VCT?
But it is slightly less costly, $81.75.30 versus the epoxy is $94.50. The question, I guess, would be one of acceptable durability, VCT versus an epoxy flooring.
Yeah. Bob, just out of curiosity, what's your input on this? Because
Well, the Rockwell floor is all VCT.
Right.
So there's no argument there at that point.
so we get more bang.
Can't
for
have
the buck
one-
on VCT.
It'd be nice to go with the epoxy, and that's what we originally thought. But we got to try to keep the cost down.
Well, and I think too, if we look at the drawing again, we're getting more
Mhm.
coverage with the VCT than with the epoxy. And so, and I know, Bob, the concern about that floor area and just having, so originally all the yellow plus where it says sealed concrete was all supposed to be sealed concrete, correct? And then also into the electric room and that custodian office. So, and your concern was coming in the loading dock with food and stuff like that, not on a concrete floor. And
Correct.
where does the stuff get loaded from once does it go across the sealed concrete too, or does it go into the kitchen? Right.
It goes directly into the kitchen.
To the
And
right?
then into the kitchen storage, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it would not need to go any further than what the yellow area is onto the sealed concrete, correct?
That's correct. The yellow area is exactly where we need it.
Okay. And then if we were doing the VCT tile, that would cover the yellow area plus the part that says sealed concrete, but not in the custodian office or the main electrical room? That would stay sealed concrete?
Correct.
There's no problem there.
Yeah, okay. And the epoxy would actually be, you're saying it would be the same as what's in the kitchen, which is right adjacent there, where you swing in, that gives you enough room to swing into the kitchen door?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The turning radius of the pallet jack.
I don't know, 6 of one, a half a dozen of the other.
If the tiled floor got damaged, the VCT is a lot easier to repair than it would be with the epoxy.
Ah.
And the fact that I'm using large pallet jacks and you have the stuff coming off the back of the tractor trailer, and some of these guys are animals when they offload. So
Yep.
if we had to repair the VCT, I mean, that's a lot easier than to patch epoxy.
I agree with you, Bob.
Yep.
Okay. So,
Sounds like a lot of sense.
yeah, so some good pros and cons. Anything else anyone has for input on this? Want to go with the VCT? We'll approve that change order and ditch the other one.
My vote would be the VCT.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve change order. What's the number here? Yeah,
124.
124 for a VCT tile in the receiving area at Johnson School in the amount of $8,175.30.
I'll second it.
Okay, Dave Horvath seconds, and we've just discussed it all. We don't need to discuss anymore. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good with that. Next.
All right, then that is it for for Johnson.
So all the others you're either needing more information on or.
Yes, or we've, yes, or we've.
So
just
we're not
gotten-
going to discuss the Terrazzo at all for Johnson?
No, because I think what we want to do is reprice it for you.
Okay.
We're going to go back and tighten up the quantities, figure out where we can get away with a concrete infill. We'll get the pricing on the vestibule floor as well. We'll present a total package.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And then were any of the PCB, PSNBC members know that I reached out to everyone asking for their contacts on who does Terrazzo? So they passed a few names and companies along to Ken and Jim, but I don't know if any of those were able to be utilized or helpful or not. And that's a question to Ken.
Yeah, I did contact each of them, and one of them had said that they no longer have the Terrazzo contractor that they used to have, and Midtown was another contractor who said that they'd have the price to me on Friday, and today they said that they'd have it. They said they have a price. It's going through their final phase. So I don't know if I'll see it tomorrow or not, but I'm trying to get that from them. So at least we'll have a comparison of three.
Yep, that would be helpful. Because I know there's not a lot of people that do it, and even the ones that do, sometimes you can't get them scheduled for months. So I would say keep looking into it with them too, just because we might need that other option. All right, thanks.
So at Rockwell, again, we pulled the Terrazzo out of the active PCOs, and we will revisit that one much like at Johnson. And in fact, at Rockwell, because the patching that has to happen is 4 sort of little, 10 by 16 patches. I think in those cases, we are definitely going to look at the concrete infill and do away with the Terrazzo altogether, because that was such a limited area. But we'll bring that to you next time. At Rockwell, we also pulled back PCO. We were going to present 89, which we were going to talk about, and PCO 90. Both of these have to do with the security system. 89 is to add a keypad at the receiving room door at Rockwell. 90 had been to add a door contact at the exterior boiler room door. At a previous PSBC meeting, because these prices from Ferguson were so high, you had advised us to go back and look and see whether United Alarm could do the work. I never even contacted United Alarm, and Ferguson pitched a fit saying that we could not bring in another security contractor to work on the system until they had actually closed it out and turned it over. I don't even know how they found out already, but fine. This has been a reoccurring theme with Ferguson. And there's a little bit more sense to this issue than the electric at the bleachers. So, but in the meantime, we took another look at these 2 PCOs, and PCO 90 for the door contact at the boiler room exit door. Joe Claude and I were chatting about this yesterday, and he went back and read the hardware schedule, and it turns out that door was supposed to have a card reader, a door contact, and the same sort of hardware that is at every other exterior door.
Oh,
So we do know that on the actual technology drawing, there was no designation, but Ferguson owns all of the drawings, not just the technology page, but the actual door hardware schedule, and then the door hardware specification in the specs. So we went back to Rizzo and said, we're going to reject this change order, and gave them those reasons why, and they can communicate that with Ferguson, and we should still get the door contact that we need at that exterior door. Now, in fact, if we should choose to if we don't need a card reader there, we might be able to get a credit for the card reader that they don't need to install. But in any case, the extra cost for that particular door should go away.
that's
However,
good.
So we do still need the keypad though at the receiving, at the loading dock. And again, I did a little bit more digging into what happened here. And each school has a keypad that disarms the alarm system. For whatever reason, at Johnson, it ended up at the right door. It's at the receiving room door, you know, at the receiving entrance door. And at Rockwell, unfortunately, that keypad ended up in the front main administrative office. So we don't really know why it happened differently at the two schools, but clearly having it in the admin office is not useful. The keypad does need to be at the receiving room door. So in this case, we do still need this work. My recommendation is to have Ferguson do it, even at this cost that we feel is high. They did come down in price a little bit based on discussions with D'Agostino and what, you know, and what was really needed to add the keypad at this location. But rather, the only way I think to really make this work with a different vendor would be to wait until all the work was done. And I don't feel that that's going to be useful to Bob and his staff. So my recommendation is to adopt this change order. Let me bring up the real change order. So it is change order 89, and it is in the amount of $4,343.56. So this is for the keypad, the conduit, the cabling that has to go to the keypad location, the testing, the programming, and the tying it into the alarm system.
Motion to approve.
Can I comment on something or wait for the discussion?
So so Dave Olson made the motion to approve 89. I think Roy seconded it.
I think it's the other way, but it doesn't make any difference.
All right. So now we can discuss.
Hey, Geraldine, has Ferguson given you an alternate price for a wireless keypad?
No, we did not request that, but
Because a wireless keypad can go in that back door and communicate with the
Yeah.
panel.
well, I would like to try that because honestly, the bulk of their, obviously the bulk of their material and time is in pulling the cable all the way back to the alarm panel.
Agreed.
So, yeah,
Oh.
do you have wireless keypad at other locations?
I have wireless key points at the gym at the high school where there's no hardwire at all. And then I have a wireless keypad down by the IT room at the high school.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm not familiar with like the reliability of that, but if
That's what I was going to ask.
Well, what they do is they test the signal out first. And it has to be at a certain signal strength and without any interruptions with the school normal, RF. And then if that works, then that's a full solution. And it's a lot more cheaper than $4,000.
Well, because that's a whole lot of conduit, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, if you go through their PCO, there is the actual cost of the keypad is $1,200 from Open Systems, and all the rest of the charges have to do with, the cost of material and then the cost of the, 15, 16 hours to do the installation, the testing, the, pulling the cable, pulling whatever. So yeah, we will go back and we'll ask D'Agostino to choose a compatible wireless keypad for this system and then present that for a revision to this PCO.
Yeah,
Okay.
and don't be surprised if they ask for a small booster. Sometimes they'll put a booster about midway from the keypad to the alarm panel, just to boost the signal. So, I mean, that technology's out there. It's probably time we start using it.
I withdraw my motion.
Thanks, Dave.
And I'm withdrawing the PCO. Okay.
Done.
Let's see. So we also have PCO 119 at Rockwell. This is to modify millwork in the music room. Perhaps Joe or Ken can tell me, we had I believe this is the location where there was the sanitary, I'm sorry, the storm connection for the roof drain was not in the place. It did not exist where shown on the drawing.
Right.
And so a new piping and chase and everything had to be provided. And so that meant we needed to reconfigure and modify the actual millwork that was already built for this room. So as I recall, the different like base cabinets were sort of rearranged, and then countertop had to be modified. So this was to accommodate drainage piping that was just in a different place than originally shown on the old existing drawings from the existing building. So millwork modifications in the amount of $3,956.40.
And this has been looked at, gone back and forth, gotten them to be a decent price, et cetera.
It has, and it's also already done.
Yeah. Change order number.
Motion to approve.
119.
So Dave Olson, a motion to approve 119 for Rockwell. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Gil seconds. Any other discussion on this? And that's just for that room. It's not,
Yes.
okay. Are there
One
more
room.
of these to come in other rooms?
Not that we're going to talk about tonight.
But there are somewhere.
We recently received a change order for a new chase located in every single classroom, but we're working on that one right now. Just came through yesterday.
Okay, then. All right, any other comment, discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? And done. So I guess I was thinking about that other, the one that you just mentioned, that's all the other classrooms, because I think that was discussed in not great detail at the OAC meeting, and it was a very large amount of money.
Well, so yes, what I think what you're
guess-
referring to, there are going to be two related PCOs that we are reviewing and discussing currently because of these because there are chases, there were plumbing chases in almost every classroom. That's a PCO from Verdi to provide the chases. And then there is an associated change order on the books for millwork modification to accommodate the chases against the wall that were not anticipated. Both of those need a little bit more review before we're willing to bring them to you all and discuss them, present them.
And why were chases not figured in?
That would be a question for Joe, I think. But again, we haven't really fully looked at the circumstances. So I don't know, Joe, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I have to look at that more and review it with John.
Okay,
So I don't have an answer for that right now.
okay. So this one,
So this is in the Rockwell cafeteria. Because the windows rise up past the height of the bottom of the ceiling, we needed to pull back the ceiling and modify the edge details or create a pocket essentially. And it happened at a cost of $809.25.
Is that quick?
Motion to approve.
so Dave makes a motion to approve change order number, whatever number it is. I can't see the
Sorry, 120.
120. I need a second. Gil seconds.
Looking at,
Gil seconds. Any discussion on this? That's that whole weird looking places where windows just go up into the ceiling all over different parts of schools. But this one had a radiant panel that had to be dealt with. So, all right, any other discussion or questions on this?
How did that get missed? I gotta play Dave Norvik here for a second. How did that get missed? Did someone not take out a measuring tape or
And
look on a print?
Joe, do you have an idea? I was gonna guess that this is a ceiling lowered because of things we ran above it, but I don't know.
I actually don't know what this is for. Ken was trying to explain it to me in the field that they had to modify the radiant ceiling panel because there was a grid missing, I think it was what he said.
So in the cafeteria, they've got the cloud system, and in most areas that where there's classroom, all the classrooms, the ceiling butts up to the radiant panel, and then that takes care of that side of the radiant panel. And then on the other side, you have the wall, so you can support your radiant panel. Well, in the cafeteria, you didn't have that on both sides, because one side you got clouds, so there's no, straight line grid system. On the other side, there's open windows. So you couldn't just put the radiant panel up there, or it would look like an S when you were all done. It would be all over the place. And so this straightens up the line and makes the installation correct.
Does that help, Bob, or is that still like, what?
Well, it's, I don't want to play engineer here, but it just seems to me that you measure this stuff out before you spec it out. Because I'm dealing with this in every part of both schools. You have a foyer. You have a foyer where the glass goes above the ceiling.
Yep.
I'm just tired of seeing it.
Something showing them to do that, they would have been able to do it, but there was nothing there, so they didn't know they had to do it.
I understand what Ken's doing, by putting that chase up, but geez, I don't understand. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I don't understand either. There's a whole lot of places where the ceiling butts into a window that's up above it. And I think some people think it looks funky, and other people are like, what is this about? And again, it's one of those situations where, well, and it's like you said, throughout most of the schools, it's one of those situations where, like some of the other things we talked about a little earlier, didn't anybody do any field measuring? So.
I don't know. I see it as a thing that could easily be missed while they're drawing the stuff up, but
At one or two places, I agree, but not as many as that have been missed.
Yep. Well, whatever. I think
It's done, and yeah.
Yeah, I get it. It's just aggravating.
Yep, it is aggravating. Majorly aggravating. So we have a motion, right?
Yeah.
Second. So we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed. And who's the other opposed?
David.
Dave Horvath?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But the motion carries.
And I have one more change. It is not a construction change order. This has to do with technology equipment. In the music room, we have this situation on a wall where a equipment rack was supposed to be located. So this is a typical situation on this project and on many projects where the electrician just goes in and throws stuff up on the wall without understanding whatever else has to be on the wall. So there was no room here. There was supposed to be a wall-mounted rack. Let me see if I can find the rack that I wanted to show you. It's supposed to look like this. It is it sticks out from the wall. It opens up. The things like the amplifier go in there, the recording equipment, the audio equipment, and this is in the music room. So it contains a bunch of music room related AV equipment. But as I showed, there was no place to locate it. And so D'Agostino and ESC came together and came up with a PCO for a mobile rack, so that the rack would be on a frame with wheels, and then they had to create a custom whip to connect it to the AV cabling that is still on the wall. And this is a change in the amount of $1,615.76. And D'Agostino did review this work and, develop the solution with ESC, and they are recommending that it be approved. They need someplace to mount this equipment in the music room, and this is the best alternate solution.
As long as the electrician pays for it, that's cool.
Yeah, not sure that's going to happen.
Oh, who was that electrician again?
So this is Ferguson.
Oh, really?
Surprise!
What a surprise.
Much
So-
like a lot of devices and cabling and conduit, there just was no consideration for other things that had to happen in the same location.
Let me be devil's advocate. Does it show anywhere on the prints where this stuff on the wall that you're showing us right now, this pink wall, heights?
Yes,
So-
and when they did the first classroom, they did a mock-up for approval. This is
Okay,
That
approved.
was a typical classroom. This is an atypical classroom, Ken.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to explain.
no, that's why I'm
Made
asking
on
the
a
question.
project. It wasn't just thrown on the walls wherever they felt like it.
They have plenty of stuff thrown on walls wherever they felt like it.
Yeah.
Okay,
In-
but
in this-
you do, at least you admitted that you approved it in the classrooms. This one, maybe not.
Right. This was not mocked up.
This room needed this rack on the wall. I mean, and it's shown on the drawings being in this location, but sort of the space for it was not created. So,
So then, are there other places that so conduit that's coming down from the ceiling, and I see a plug, I see some kind of probably
Data jack.
data jack or whatever, couple more plugs, couple more data jacks, and then whatever that box is. What's the box? And are there other places that these could have gone, or do they kind of have to be there? I mean, I understand in both schools, there's a lot of places where there's conduit on the walls, but there's no place to put them in the walls. There's no place to put them. There's no hollow walls to put them in. We understand that. So there's lots of conduit on walls, painted the same color as the walls, the industrial look. It's what we have to deal with. But were there other places where these conduits could go to run whatever they're running? Like what's the big box there right in the center?
It's a pull box.
I don't know.
It's
So
like
I think
a,
it's AV.
So not trying to solutionize here, but let me ask a stupid question. If they went above that, looks like a 12 by 12 box, the pink box, and used Unistruct to come off the wall and mounted the original box there, off the wall above that, over the conduit, would that work, or would that intrude too far into the classroom? And would that be an extra cost, or would that be something that they say, okay, fine, we'll take the hit with the Unistrut and mount it there? Would that work, or do we not know?
Dave, I think that would stick out into the hall, into the classroom space a little bit too much.
Okay,
Because
that's
that
why I
box opens
asked.
up, that box opens up with a hinge, that black box,
Right.
and that puts it out
No,
even
it's a deep-
farther when it's open.
Okay, that's why I
And
asked
I would
about, because it's a
say-
deep box.
Yeah, that's a good solution, because we in fact are doing that, adding Unistrut to the back of the mounting brackets on some of the TVs for the same issue, because there's conduit behind there that we can't clear with the TVs, with the monitors. But I do think in this case, it may protrude too much. I mean, it's kind of in the corner of a room, but it is a music room where people might be
Yeah.
circulating around.
I don't want a kid to mash their head on it, that's for
Well,
sure.
they'll be moving around with instruments in their hands.
Yeah.
That's all, that thing I'm afraid of.
Can
Can the
can the-
whiteboard move?
What's that?
Can the whiteboard move?
That was my next question.
Yeah, I believe that to the right of the whiteboard is a visual display monitor and probably another whiteboard. I don't have the full.
That should be
photo of the
correct.
room. I think
Yeah.
that there's more to the right there.
How big is can the 4 conduits that are coming down into that sort of big junction box thing be shortened and the plugs be moved, the 4-gang plug moved over towards the left and the little data plug, well, that can't get moved over to the right because the clock is there.
Or raised up, Nancy.
Yeah.
Well, can it get raised up, but can stuff be plugged into it if it's raised up too high?
Yeah, I don't know.
My feeling is that 4-gang and that computer drop, that's related to that black box.
Yep. I
Right.
agree.
And then
So
the
they
items to the left, appear to be like, almost looks like an audio jack. I'm not sure.
And I think they have to be low where they are to be
Correct.
able to,
They're for floor microphones.
I guess, I mean, if we ask for all this stuff to get moved, I'm sure it's not going to happen for free. It's Ferguson.
$2,000. That's what he should write on the side of his truck.
$10,000.
You know, by the time you move anything here and repainting and what have you, you might as well have paid the $1,600. Just, you know, let them do it with an alternate system.
I know, but it just chaps my butt, you know that.
Yep.
I don't disagree with you.
So,
I know.
and with it on wheels, a rack on wheels, is it can it be pushed up against the wall and the wheels locked so it's not getting skittered all over the room and bounced around?
Well, that's my assumption because it's also hardwired. I mean, it's mobile, but it can't wander too far because there's going to be a grid
Wires hooked
connection
up to-
from
yeah,
that box.
right.
Right, it's only mobile, so they would be able to clean the floor beneath it.
Yeah.
And they don't have to mount it
right.
to the wall because you can't mount it to the wall lower behind or below that.
So hang on. Let me, again, maybe it's a stupid question, but if you're gonna put one that's mobile on the floor, then why not just mount the original box right below everything there? Because it's gonna be like the same height, isn't it?
Yeah, but Dave, they're going to be in and out of that box. Okay. You know, because this audio box has a lot of features to it.
Okay.
And also you don't want those little fans inside that box to be picking up dust and dirt off the floor.
Okay, that's why I was asking, Bob, because I don't know that. So thanks for clarifying.
Okay. I think we've come up with any
You just
different
spent
options as we
$1,600.
can, but all right.
We still make Ferguson pay the $1,600 for God's sakes. We've given them enough.
So what's the change order number?
It doesn't have a number because it's just based on a
Oh, right.
quote from ESP.
Right, so it comes out of the FF&E budget?
Yeah, it'll come out FF&E technology. So for them, it's their change order number 2. I don't know what their number 1 was, but
I'll make a motion that we approve change order number 2 from ESC for the AV rack. In the amount of, is that at $1,650, so $1,615.76?
yes. Yep.
Second.
I'll second.
So Gil and Roy second it. Can we discuss it more?
I just have one last question. I'm sorry.
Sure, no, ask as many.
But I'm looking at the standalone enclosure, 25-inch depth. What's the depth of the original enclosure? I didn't see that.
Let's see if I can find it again.
Thank you. Sorry to be a
No,
mooch.
that's all right. Gotta be here someplace. Yep, okay. Let's see if we have some specs here on it.
So this is the wall mounted one, yes?
Yeah.
It is 23 3/8 by 28 by 22. Says it accepts 19-inch deep equipment.
So it's
or 19-inch equipment, 20-inch
So it's
depth.
22 inches deep, right?
Yep.
The new one is 25 inches deep? The one with the
Yeah,
So what
So-
I'm getting at is just thinking about this, and again, check me on this. If we were to go with this one and mount it above the conduit with 1.5 unistrut, it would still only be 24 inches off the wall as opposed to 25 inches. Does that make sense? I'm asking. You'd actually you'd be an inch shallower than the mobile cart. But does that make sense? That's all I'm asking.
It makes sense to me, but I don't, but in this case, we handed over to the technology consultant and asked them, what's our best solution?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I'm happy to go back and ask
Yeah.
about this.
I mean,
So-
again, I'm just asking the question because it just seems like.
Can I comment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Looking at almost 70 pounds with a 150-pound weight limit, that's going to limit if they put anything in it in the future. If they put another switch or another audio amplifier or anything like that. So I don't know. We're getting closer, Dave, to the maximum weight limit.
Yeah, that's why I asked, Bob, because these things again.
Well,
Yeah.
and so I have a question too, Bob. We were talking about if we were gonna, so Dave's talking about mounting it higher, but building it out so that it could be put over conduit, et cetera. If we tried to mount it lower, below the big gang box there, you're saying you don't want it that close to the floor because of dust, et cetera, but it's gonna sit on the floor, the mobile thing, right? Does the mobile have,
The mobile thing may have a floor on it, though.
it has a floor, it sits up a little higher.
We have a couple of those mobile racks in the district, and if
Okay.
if it's what I'm thinking it is, it'll be on wheels, correct? But it'll also have a floor and maybe a shelf in there for
To keep-
additional cables, things like that.
Right, and it keeps dust from kind of
Right.
coming up from below.
Getting dirty.
Well, this is why
Mounted
we
one
ask
would not.
questions.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, everybody's good with it? Any more questions
Mm,
to go? Who's laughing?
It's me.
I know. All right, so we got our motion, we got our second, we discussed it to death. All in favor? Aye. Is anybody opposed? Nobody's opposed on that one. So that one comes out of the FF&E budget, right?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
and that's
That's
all for
change
PCO's
orders.
additional requests.
Thank
Yes.
you, Geraldine.
Thank you, but now we have invoices. Not too many, but a few.
There are.
Let me get my
Let's
folder
see.
so I can mark them off as we do them.
Nancy?
Yeah. Oh, yes. So before we go to invoices, we have a PCO that I think needs to be discussed, but I don't know if Roy has any paperwork with him. So Roy and John, before you put up invoices, Geraldine,
Mhm.
met and got some info. I don't know if, Roy, why don't you tell us what you did?
So John and I met yesterday to review the extra costs associated with the installation of the electrical feeders in both Johnson and Rockwell. This goes back to, the feeling of Perkins and Eastman was that, Ferguson was really responsible for these costs, as they should have known. The feeders had to go across the building, within that limited space. We kind of went back through it again. There definitely, I think there was some, communications and coordination problems, initially, and this goes back well over a year ago. And we didn't feel that Ferguson's request, the original amount, was reasonable. And, the latest amount that Rizzo has negotiated down to, we feel that they've gotten down to about $78,400 for the Johnson School 19,900 for the Rockwell. It's getting closer to the cost associated with the work is what we felt. And we reviewed the documents provided to us by Geraldine and also Rizzo. Very helpful that Jim put together some documentation on underground and what have you. And based upon that, John and myself's feeling is that we should offer, we're thinking that we should offer Ferguson an extra for Johnson of 65,000 and an extra for Rockwell of 10,000. So total out to be 75,000 from where they were. That's just our recommendation of where we are. It's open for discussion, and it's in the interest of, I think the window is starting to close with Rizzo as far as negotiating this. They've done an excellent job, I feel, working it back, and in the interest of getting this settled, hopefully, and this is something that obviously it would be up to Ferguson to accept that, from their original amounts, which were considerably higher. It's some number that we would recommend that this commission, allow Rizzo negotiate those numbers. So.
Okay, so you went over all the paperwork and you came up with the numbers, looking at all the information that was provided by both Geraldine and Rizzo.
Yep.
You feel those numbers are more in line with the work that was actually,
Yep.
change order had work listed. Jim put a whole bunch of like a timeline kind of thing together too, as far as their discussions.
Mhm.
Yeah, and also the fact that, if it had been caught maybe earlier on some of it, it probably wouldn't have solved it, but in the Johnson one, they could have possibly done conduit over the roof or underground around the building.
Yeah.
There was a couple different alternates back then, and that's what John was waiting for, and Jim put together some of those documentations to that. So that was closer, and that's one of the reasons that we're thinking that, a compromise position was closer to the numbers that we were looking at. So I think we're very close as far as for where Jim got it down to. And I think, in the interest of time and of wrapping things up, this we thought would be a fairly fair, solution. I don't know if they'll accept it, but it's something that we felt that it would probably be, worthwhile for us to go with.
Sure. I appreciate your doing that too. So now what would the next, I'm not sure what the next step would be as far.
I think and my only, I would say if this commission felt, reasonably comfortable with this, that we tell Jim to proceed with that, with those numbers, the 65 and the 10, and see if he could get it settled with Ferguson.
Is there any
I
other,
agree with that.
so Dave, you're good with that? Any other input on that? Or any other questions on it from anyone? I think as, I believe it was Jim at, not the last meeting, but the meeting before, when we talked about if we threw a number out there, if Ferguson accepts it, then we've got to go with it. Then we have to, change orders have to get written up, et cetera. We've got to accept it. We can't be back and forth with them anymore on it.
Right.
Yeah. So are we good with having Jim and or Ken go back to Rizzo with this? Kathy is going to say something.
Yes.
No, okay. So Dave's good with it, and Gil, Bob, David.
Second it.
Yeah. I don't think we need to make a motion. I think we need to,
It's just a negotiation number
right.
that we're hoping Jim could solve it at.
Yep.
So that would
So-
be the 65,000 for Johnson and 10 for Rockwell.
Hey,
Okay.
do you think you could sneak in moving that box up in that room over there for the?
I have a whole list.
Good.
I'm sure you do, Geraldine. I'm sure you do.
We all have lists. Okay, so Jim, you're good with,
Yeah, and I guess the approach will be, obviously, that hit them with that low number, there'll be, whatever their reaction is, and then just try to roll Rockwell into a settlement with them and see where that ends up, but 75 being the maximum there.
yeah,
I think that'd be very helpful, Jim. I appreciate all the input and all the information, all the different things that you put together in this.
No problem.
okay,
And you might even touch base on them on some of these items that are bugging the heck out of Geraldine and everyone else as far as boxes in the wrong spot and what have you, so that we haven't gone back to them.
Believe me, if it's nothing then just for my satisfaction, I use each of these discussions to break his chops, so.
That's exactly where I was going.
yep.
I think
All right,
we're
so
thinking
then-
the same.
Hopefully, you can get that finished. I don't know whether it would have to come back to us for approval or whether it would then get written out as a change order and then,
I would prefer to leave it with theirs, if I'm, he'll call me tomorrow by 9:15. He'll know more about this meeting than I do. And I would prefer to where I leave it kind of open-ended, that even if there is a little bit of back and forth, it's going to be the final decision has to come from you guys.
right,
Right.
okay,
Nothing else, just to, I don't know, maybe I get another change order done with him, along the line too, so.
okay,
Thank you.
yep, sounds good, thanks. Thanks for reminding me about that, Roy. Had it as a reminder too to do during change orders, but now we can do invoices.
Yippee.
Get to my purple pen.
Or too many.
I know, we only have a few.
So we'll start with Perkins Eastman.
Sure, that's on top of my pile here.
Johnson, FF&E.
Oh, that's 18, okay. So I make a motion that we approve the invoice from Perkins Eastman, invoice number 68962.01.0-18, FF&E for Johnson in the amount of $2,570.
Second.
Second it.
Got a second from a couple of people. Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Done.
And also at Johnson, work on the exterior dumpster pad retaining wall area.
Okay, that's 3, yep. I make a motion that we approve the invoice from Perkins Eastman, invoice number 68962.06.0-3 for Johnson School retaining wall area in the amount of $400.
Second.
Dave Olson seconds, all in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed, done.
And I think before we move on from this, Joe, we should have reported on this earlier. So we have come to a proposed location for the dumpster pad that allows for a 4-in-1 slope off the back side of the dumpster pad. The dumpster pad's becoming smaller, moving towards the parking lot. So the 4-to-1 slope should be maintainable, at least in Malona McBroom's opinion. I think where we're at, Joe, is we're waiting for a sketch or an actual bulletin on that to come forward for Rizzo to Price.
Yeah, the sketch has actually been sent out, but I had to formalize it as a bulletin now.
Exactly. And the other thing I wanted to say about it, I just forgot, but.
We also checked
oh.
the depth of the electrical line.
Right, that's what it was.
To make sure
Yeah.
that we could cut the slope down that far, and we can.
So we've settled on a plan, and hopefully at the next meeting, we'll be bringing you that information so that we're ready to move forward on the relocation of the dumpster pad as soon as spring hits.
Good.
Perkins,
We'll have
Eastman,
Yeah, we'll have more
Oh.
info on that in the next meeting, right?
right.
Yep.
We vote on that? Yes.
Yes, we did.
Perkins Eastman for Rockwell FF&E.
Yep. So I make a motion that we approve invoice from Perkins Eastman, invoice number 68961.01.0-17 for Rockwell FF&E in the amount of, total was invoice, $1,375.
second,
Dave Wilson seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done.
STL,
Yep, STL's good.
STL at Johnson.
So I make a motion we approve the invoice from Special Testing Laboratories, invoice number 35061 in the, for Johnson in the amount of $2,080.
second,
Wilson seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Done.
And STL at Rockwell.
So I make a motion that we approve invoice from Special Testing Laboratories, invoice number 35060 in the amount of $680.
second,
Wilson seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Done.
And before we move off of this, I just wanted to ask Ken, I would have asked him on Thursday, are we done with special testing labs at Rockwell? There should not be any additional work there that requires any inspections, correct? Ken, are you still? All
I'm
right, well,
sorry, what was that?
Are we done with special testing labs at Rockwell? Is there any work left there that they should be inspecting? We cut them loose?
At Rockwell, I don't have anything left that they would be inspecting.
That's what I thought. So I'm going to connect with them because otherwise they're going to continue to charge us a monthly fee to review reports. So I'll connect with them and just let them know that there is ongoing work at Johnson, but not to expect a call back on anything at Rockwell.
Okay.
Try and close that out. Okay. Altiplay had presented an invoice for the materials and their labor charges, and I'm going to suggest that they did complete the work today, and I'd like to have this invoice.
Is this for the repairs?
This is for the repairs. So as you recall, we already got a change order from earth movers in Rizzo as a credit for this work, with the understanding that the town would pay the invoice. So it's
Right, so was the credit in this amount?
the credit was in this amount. Yep.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we approve invoice, quote kind of number 122120 from Altiplay.
Yep.
For, it's Rockwell, right? I don't know if it says it, but I'll put it on there. In the amount of $5,067.99.
Second.
Second.
Gil seconds. Any other questions about this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done.
Now, there is one other invoice. I know that it's in today. So if we hold it for another couple of weeks, I think we can. But I wanted to just ask if it could be considered. It is the invoice from Auto Plumbing for the repair work at the sanitary line at Johnson. The $16,606 is exactly what they presented as their quote, which you approved at the last meeting. So if you can approve the invoice without having to submit it earlier to the public, I think you would a quick turnaround on the payment.
I think it's fine. If I think we have to, what I've understood from recent discussions with Matt Knickerbocker, et cetera, is that we have to make best efforts to get everything out there. And, you know, if one document didn't make it, it's not going to be I don't think we have to hold it. I think we can go ahead and approve it and pay it. And I'll make the motion, we can discuss it. And then you got to send it to me so I can print it and sign it. Or
Yes.
is it in the shared drive or is it?
It is in the share drive. Yes.
so I can get-
Invoices, this meeting.
Right. I'll get it. So I'll make a motion that we approve the invoice from the auto company, invoice number 1255839 in the amount of $16,606.
Second.
And this is for Johnson.
That's correct.
Second from Dave Olson. Any other questions or comments on it? And does everybody feel okay about going ahead and doing this without putting it out there for 3 weeks? Okay, so all in favor?
All right.
Opposed? So that one's done. I'll get it printed and take care of it. That's it for today, right?
That's it. Yep, that's all the invoices.
Okay. So is there anything else on our school projects that anyone has? Anybody have any questions for any of our team? Are you?
I make a motion, we buy Nancy a new computer. Get rid of that Apple IIe.
Is it making a lot of noise?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, I tried to shut it. Well, I thought I had.
I have the fire truck ready to come over, so.
Yeah.
When's your birthday, Nancy?
You can, actually, it's next month, so
Tomorrow.
yeah. You can take up a bunch of donations if you want.
There we go.
Sometimes if I unplug the,
There you
it
go.
just went down. I unplug it and then it goes down. But then the battery runs out and then you'll lose me. It turns off when it's not plugged in. I don't get it, but I take it to the IT guys every now and then and say, why does it do this?
It's all good.
What it is.
It is what it is.
Does anybody have any questions for our team, Geraldine, Ken, Jim, Joe? You guys are going to continue for now having weekly meetings?
We're going to continue the weekly meetings until the vestibule is completed. So we're anticipating 2 meetings, maybe 3, depending on how they clean up.
Okay,
And then we'll reduce our weekly to some other duration.
maybe every other week or something like that. Okay.
Bob, is it, so I did read that the BMS system is up 100% running and everything. Are you good with that?
Yeah, so far I've been, constant contact with Rick. Rick and I talked today about something else, but yeah, no, it's very functional.
Do you feel you're like 95% there, or you?
Yeah, no, I'm very comfortable with it.
All right, good. Excellent.
Any other questions for anybody? Do not go away because we have police station stuff to do if we have a quorum. So Dave, Roy, and Gil, please stay here.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone else, thank you. And I guess we'll see you either at the OAC meeting or at the next meeting.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah, thank you very
Good night.
much. Good night.
Thank you.
And here we are.
And here we are. So, we only have 4 of us. 4 is a quorum, so we can continue with our discussion on our other agenda items. So today, I received, actually it was late yesterday afternoon, and I did send you an email, which I know was late too, because,
Hang on, I'm counting 6 of us.
well, there's 6 people on the screen, but there's 4 of us
Oh, gosh,
that
sorry.
are, yeah, we have to have 4. So for the school project, because
Yes,
9 members, we have to have 5 for a quorum.
correct.
The other 2 projects, because there's only 7 of us, we have to have 4 for a quorum.
Yep, my bad.
So for the police station project, I did get an email from Chris Baldwin late yesterday. Late after like 5 o'clock, sometime after 5 o'clock. with the CO for the building attached. And it is, it actually, for some strange reason, includes the structure of the firing range, because I thought that was a separate permit. So I did email him about that and I haven't heard back.
Okay.
Complete. And so, and he only sent it to me. I also asked him, what do we do with it? Do we post it somewhere? What do we do with it? Haven't gotten that yet either. So I have that. I can show it to you if you want to see it. I can screen share. But that being said, I also sent it to Downs for their information so that it's complete. And I feel like now we can approve their application for payment.
Okay.
So I am going to put that up on the screen. So can I screen share, Kathy? Yes. Oh. Not going to let me. I first have to pull up I've got all this stuff on a flash drive, so I have to get it first before
I'll be
we,
right back.
yep. We won't go any further until there we go, not that. So now I have to make that small. First day, new brain. Make that bigger. Share screen. And there it is. So you can't see the whole thing just because, but we received this from Downs. Even though if I go over this way, you don't see the signatures. I have the one with the signatures on it and notarized. So it was signed it's signed by Brian Humes. It's signed, I didn't scan in that page.
I'll be back.
Okay, Dave's back. Good. Yay. It's signed by Brian Humes. It's signed by Ryan Patrick. Dated end of, well, Brian signed it in September. Ryan signed it in October. We received it in November. And it's notarized, etc. So as you can see, it's in the amount of $72,827.77. Going, and I had sent this out a while ago and I just sent it recently so that you could see if you look at, they're keeping in retainage 2,400 for CT Masons, but everything else is owed to, there's no retainage amounts, current payment due. If we go over there, we see this 36,000 is owed to earth movers. And then there's other smaller amounts. That's CT Masons. Greenwood Industries is the roofer. They're owed 1,800. There's the some flooring, and in the next couple of pages, there's smaller amounts to the locker people. The largest amount, the 11,000 on this page, is Ferguson, because they had some outstanding electrical stuff that they needed to complete it, so they did. But if you also look at towards the bottom, you see 84,000 is, if I go back over here, you see that that's their construction contingency. So I asked Downs for an accounting of where they see the budget at right now, because that 84,000 is what's left in their contingency. And what I'm not sure of is how much more we have on the other side, the soft cost side, because we do owe Chikunski Hume some money.
Right.
So I did get first of all, I feel like now that we've got the CO, we should pay this. We should be done with it. And I don't know if anybody else has any other.
I don't disagree with you, Nancy, but the one concern that I have is that they only have the 2,400 retainage for CT Masons.
Right.
And, obviously, I gotta think, if it was myself on our own project, I'd probably say until everything is solved, I'm gonna hold 50 grand, no matter what, on the building, because they're still you know, if we had to go out and do it ourselves as far as, you know, painting it and waterproofing, doing the things that we have, we're probably gonna be at least $30,000, you know, if we had to hire an outside person to do it. So that's just the only thing, but I don't know, I don't disagree with you to pay it, but I just don't know, and maybe there is that construction contingency that's still sitting there.
That is
but
part of, yes, that's part of their GMP.
Yeah,
So theoretically, we owe that to them. What we don't know is if they're actually going to try to use that.
Right.
yeah,
So, and that's a discussion suggested that we need to have with them from the meeting that we had last week or 2 weeks ago.
so
I
do
still,
do you think it's better to get, because I see you had requested the final accountings on where we were. You know, should we just wait, just, you know, a little bit, just to get totaled up?
I actually don't. I think that they owe money. They owe like 30-something thousand dollars to Eddie Killian, and
Yeah,
you know, they should pay him. His work is done. They owe money to Ferguson. Their work is done. They should pay them. So I'm conflicted, but at the same time, I think we ought to pay it. But if we vote on it
I don't disagree.
and you guys, some of you vote no, then it's not going to happen. So
I'm just concerned that we, you know, for the interest of, you know, a week's worth of time, maybe just to get the final accounting to make sure that we're okay. And
Right.
I don't know, maybe I'm being
It's-
too conservative here.
it's going to be more than a week because we have another meeting for 2 weeks. So it's going to be 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks, yeah.
So it's been, you know, we've had this for 3 months. Like I said, I've actually had a phone call from Eddie. Well, he asked if I would call him. I did call him because he wanted to know why he wasn't getting paid. And I did explain the situation to him, but I just think those guys should be paid. But I understand completely, you know, what you're saying, Roy.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you either. If I was Eddie, I'd feel the same way. And I'd also feel that, I do feel that we have that obligation to get it done. But I'm just concerned that we're that close, just to make sure everything's set. But I could go either way on it. I can absolutely go either way.
And I think that we're going to be fine. I think that the process that we're going through as far as getting the range completed, and I can, you know, if you want to talk about that before we get to approving this, there was some, so we had our meeting with Downs. So it was Roy and myself, Marty Lawler, Matt, the attorney Robinson, and then Jeff and Dave Patrick and a couple other people from Downs. We did talk about a couple of other possible options of what do you do to make sure, because you know, the ongoing thing that I keep hearing from Matt Knickerbocker is if we're going to put a coating on the outside and you've got to recoat it every 5 years or every 10 years or whatever, he doesn't want that. He wants something that's permanent. And I'm not sure if we are going to get that. So
I think Matt's comfortable with you know, I don't put words in his mouth, but he seems comfortable with a sealant type product because at the end of the day, we're still going to have issues even if we went with an EFIS system. You're still going to sealing no matter what it might be.
yes.
You know, somewhat on an ongoing process. So.
Yeah, so there was something that was EFIS system, kind of like a plastery sort of, or drive sort of thing, would have considerable amount of money because you have to put some kind of substrate behind it, attached to the split face block, et cetera, extend the roofing. So that and/or furring the whole thing out and putting, you know, a hardy plank siding on it. Both of those were not, they were going to be too cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
So there's a letter that's being drafted to send to Downs from the town saying that, after review, hitting the sort of main points, which I think I don't think I sent it to you. Well, Roy, you got it.
I have a copy,
Yeah, so that letter that will come from Attorney Robinson to Downs hits the points that we want to make sure that that the cracks are repaired, that all the repairs, the control joint, all that kind of stuff is done. I thought they missed. Wasn't there supposed to be something at the roof flashing is?
At the end of the report of that letter, it talked about that, they were going to have to review those details as
Yes.
far as flashing details.
Right. So, I'm sorry, my fan kicked back on.
The only thing, Nancy, on that, just in general, I'm assuming Downs is going to be okay with doing that work.
Yes.
But, I'm just assuming that. Let's just say, for instance, that they don't do this for no cost. So then where are we?
Well, that's what we have to discuss. And again, going back to this application for payment, this is payment for stuff that's already done. If saying that they're going to, charge money or whatever, which I believe. So the letter from the last letter I remember getting from Jeff Anderson said that he felt that they could. I interpret it was that they could do the work within their GMP. So that to me means they're going to be spending some of that money.
Yeah.
The money that's left, the 84,000.
Yeah, not that it was going to be for no charge. It was
Right.
going to be within the GNP.
Yes, and
That's-
Jeff did say that in an email letter or a letter.
Yes.
The letter that went from Downs back to Attorney Robinson. Yes.
Yeah, that was my impression also, Nancy.
Yes. So I think that we should be good with that. We just want, we'll make sure that we get what we want. And basically that's a dry, a building that's dry on the inside.
That'd be nice.
It can
But I think the attorney's letter was a little bit different in that it was at no cost to the town.
So he might need to say that differently. No cost to the town. It's actually no additional cost to the town. It is a cost.
Yeah,
If they're working GMP, I don't see a reason to have a problem with that. We just need to make sure that the other things that we've spent money on, like the blinds and the little bridges over the ductwork, etc., are covered by the budget. Because I did get, I don't know if I can put that up, because I actually did get an accounting of the project here from finance.
Were the exhaust fan leak repairs covered?
Yes.
I couldn't remember. Thanks, Nancy.
Yeah, no, that wasn't anything additional. We haven't received any kind of change orders on anything that they've had to come out to do, the flagpole lights,
Good.
etc. So that's all been taken care of. Now, are they going to hit us with change orders? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yep. So, back to this thing. What do you think?
I'm still conflicted.
I know.
Yeah. Can we do a partial?
No, because if we did a partial, we would have to get a different application.
I know. I mean,
Like I said, this stuff has been, we go back and we look at all of the stuff that's in here.
yep.
The current payment is earth movers, they're done.
You don't think they just punch out on us, do you?
They could, but I kind of don't think that with what we're working on, as far as having an attorney involved, they would do that, because that would,
Yeah.
that would bring bigger problems up for them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's, yeah. And if we look at,
Yeah, you're right, Nancy. I tend to agree with you.
so
That,
what's, these amounts are roofing, earth movers roofing, gotta follow this across, entrance or some drywall, because I think there was some additional drywall patching and stuff, or stuff they had to take care of towards the end. The metal lockers, because they had some issues with, they didn't pay those guys for a while because they had issues with some of the stuff getting done. And then there's the 3,900, if I go down to the next page, is HVAC, and I think that's Mega. Is that Mega Mechanical that did that? Yeah, the 3,900. And then, like I said, the 11,000 is Ferguson. The 8,700 is IT, so it might be cameras and stuff like that. And the 4,700 is the retaining wall fence that we had to get that put back. Remember, we had an issue with that and they had to redo it.
Yep.
And that all adds up to the 72,800. So I'm going to make the motion. We can discuss it more if you would like. I'm going to make a motion that we approve application for payment number 21 from Downs Construction for the police station project in the amount of $72,827.07.
I'll second that, Nancy, because I also had some further discussion on it.
Okay, seconding it. And what else do we need to look at?
I'm gonna request and I'm okay with okaying this and paying this, but I would love to have Marty take just a quick opinion from him to say, based upon where we are, would you be comfortable with us paying this? We've okayed it, and we're comfortable that the work's been done, but just based upon the litigation that has started now, is this something we should hold on our pay?
I kind of thought we discussed that at the meeting.
Yeah.
So we had the meeting and then the Downs people left and we stayed with
Yeah,
you, me, Matt, Marty, maybe Robinson was there.
yeah, that's what I was.
And I thought he said he didn't see any reason.
I think that's generally what I thought, but
Yes.
is there, could you easily get to Marty, Nancy, or is that?
I could email him and see what I can get. I mean, if we approve it and pending okay by Marty, I kind of, Marty doesn't have to okay our, we're given the project to do. Marty doesn't have to okay, and he doesn't step in and tell us not to do things because.
But can we say, based upon a recommendation from Marty that it's okay or something, just as I'm not trying to put him on the spot either, but I mean, he is kind of the legal team per se.
He is the legal team, but we also have to not keep falling back on him every time.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. That's why I'm somewhat okay with it.
I can check in with him if we, we'll make the motion to approve. I've made the motion to approve. I'm not going to amend it, but I can.
I'm okay.
I can, at your suggestion, check in with him before I submit this to finance.
I'm happy with that, Nancy.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Anybody opposed? Done. All right, so I'm going to take that down. And I'm going to stop sharing so we can all come back up here. So as I said, we've got the CO. I'm checking in with Chris Baldwin about the whole, like I said, I thought the firing range, not the outfitting of the inside of the firing range, but the actual structure of the firing range was a separate permit.
I did too.
I did too, and I think he may need to amend his, they actually can, let me go back here.
I thought we discussed that like almost a year ago, that outfitting it was separate from
Yeah,
your shell.
yeah,
But, right, but what I'm saying is, I'll show you, let me just get this. And I have to remember,
I think he might have just accidentally included it.
Okay.
Scary.
I thought it was in here with all my documents, but now I'm not finding it.
You got 30,000 documents in there.
I thought I moved it over to, but maybe not. I might have to get rid of this and go here. Oh, I know where it is. I literally do have way too many documents. Here it is. So then I gotta come back to you guys. That big, come back over here. I'll try not to hang up on you. Because, make this big. And then I am going to do that, and then I am going to do that. And there it is. So see how it says here, stipulations, conditions. A separate permit will be required for fit up, which means the interior of the firing
There
range.
you go.
CO covers the shell superstructure only.
Yeah, I remember that.
It needs to be clarified.
Yeah.
Because I thought the structure of the firing range was a separate permit because we started building a police station before we knew we could do the firing range structure.
Right.
So, like I said, I emailed him and I will see what I get back because he has the documents. I don't have the building permit.
Yeah, it says including firing range shell right there in parentheses.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember this. I remember we talked about this.
Okay. Well, and I just want to make sure.
Cool.
Because he had what happened with part of the issuing of the CO, other than having to check in with all the departments to make sure they were still good on their sign-offs, was that because they started, it was a little over a year ago, right, kind of during when the COVID shutdown first started happening, the building department switched into new software, and they had to recreate some of the information from the old software to the new software on the project because the project had been in there for a couple of years already. So that took a little time, and now we're here, we're done. So I think that's kind of pretty much what I have right now for the police station. We're continuing to work on getting things set for the firing range so that come spring, when it's warm, and get that outside work done, because I think there may be they may be looking at trying to come up with some money in the budget to finish the inside, because part of the big discussion at the meeting was the HVAC system of, yes, the fact that the furnace that we installed doesn't make the building leak, but it doesn't also mitigate or add to the moisture.
Right, the moisture content.
Yeah, on the inside of the building.
So that's one of the things I discussed early on too, is pressurizing
Yes.
makeup air and everything. So hopefully we can
Yes.
remediate that.
You know, they said as soon as you finish the outside, you're going to want to deal with doing something on the inside. And I think that having that HVAC system in place as part of fitting out the inside is going to be important. So,
Yep.
Kathy's cat.
It wouldn't be a meeting without the cat.
Is the cat leaving?
Yeah, the cat says we're done.
Done.
So, anything
I second the
else?
cat's motion.
Yeah, there you go. So the other thing that's on our agenda actually is election of officers, but I think since we're missing John and Dino, we should wait.
I agree.
Okay, so we will do that. So are we good? Any other questions, etc.?
Oh, ma'am.
Your motion to adjourn.
Second.
Everybody seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
I,
I,
Thank
Opposed,
you.
done.